You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another interesting episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul.
My name is Rob. Thank you for joining us. It is a pleasure to be hanging out with you today, and we appreciate that you take a few minutes of your day to hang out with us. So thank you. We're going to try, do our very best to make it worth your time.
Definitely. And in the world of drones, everything is always evolving. In fact, we've sat here and done almost 2,000 shows now with all the bonuses, and I feel like insurance is a topic that keeps coming up because the market continues to change. We've had M&A across the market, and some of our favorite players in the drone space have been taken over by people like Global Aerospace. And there's a lot of fine details and things to know when it comes to insurance, like is your drone insurance going to cover theft out of your vehicle? Is it going to cover the liability of a crash? Is it going to cover the theft of something at a job site? There are so many things to consider in addition to general liability. So today we're going to be covering the updates on insurance because they are quite hefty. And there are still a lot of people on Facebook telling you to put your drones on your homeowner's insurance, which, as you're going to find from the caller here in this question, that is not a good idea. But we're going to get into that and so much more. Before we do, the sponsor for this show, we've got a quick update on our drone mapping classes. Our in-person classes and our online classes are about to change. We just got finished actually filming 7 new mapping classes. The basics to mapping have been completely updated and changed. We've also completely updated and changed our Pix4D Mapper class, and we have added a Pix4D Matic class. In addition, we are going down the rabbit hole with Esri's SiteScan because it is simply the best cloud processing software out there, completely pummeling people like Drone Deploy and other people. Although Drone Deploy does offer significant value in still one particular vertical. On top of that, we're going on a deep dive for construction, drone mapping, media, and deliverables because it's not just about creating 3D point clouds like we just did for the Colorado School of Mines. No. It is actually about creating hyperlapses and so much more. We want to give you more information, and we want to give you information born from experience. So we actually went out and did more mapping jobs to make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information on the most up-to-date equipment and the most up-to-date workflows. Look, you can learn mapping from many different places, but it's going to really only scratch the surface. If you want to learn the information and insights that are going to save you hours behind the computer, that are going to give you confidence to go out and get work and give you confidence to help people solve problems from data in the sky, then there's only one place that you can get data from experience. It's all about drone mapping competently and confidently. And if you want that, the only place you can get it is thedroneu.com.
Hello, my name is Aaron. I own a very small drone company in Wisconsin. It's just myself and part-time. Been doing it for under a year as a business, but I'm licensed and insured, and I'm wondering if you guys have come across anything such as I have. I just got a notice of non-renewal of insurance because of drone operations, and I'm wondering if you've come across anything like this, heard of anyone else coming across it. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the negative press that has been happening recently regarding drones, and it's sort of just trickling down. I guess that is my basic question, and love to hear what you guys have to say.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate the question very much. I was really hoping that you would have said your last name when you introduced yourself, because I love names that there's just feeling when you say them, like our producer,
De los
Steve
Santos.
De los Santos. So Aaron, if you ever call back, please say your last name. Dusterheft? Is that?
I'm not trying that one. Nope.
I think it's great. Anyways, thank you for reaching out. Yeah, insurance is definitely an ever-changing element of the drone industry. We, in terms of what you specifically brought up, Aaron, honestly, I can't say that we have heard of that, but I think that's because most of the people that we talk to, and certainly that we advise, they're more prone to having their insurance with an aviation insurance organization. You didn't say this, so we can only speculate.
True.
But we are guessing that your insurance was with your homeowner's insurance company or whoever you use for homeowners, property and casualty company. That would stand to reason, because if you had your insurance with one of the aviation companies, say Skywatch.ai, or one that we've recently come across, which is USAIG, they've actually been in aviation insurance for a long time.
So I wanted to ask you about USAIG because we have had a couple...
I don't know that much about them yet, but go ahead and ask.
Well, we've had a couple of guys who've had issues with getting insurance for flying indoors, which is not FAA jurisdiction. So
still need insurance.
Yeah, you do, but then it doesn't fall under FAA guidelines, which has raised some eyebrows, and people are getting subsequent insurance for that. And also, we've had some people call in, I think it was Keith or someone, who was having an issue where they're saying you can't fly within 5 feet of someone, even though the law is very clear that you can't fly over people, meaning the tips of their fingers to, them. The FAA does have on their website that transversing people is allowed, meaning you can't hover over people, but you can obviously fly over people. And I think the market is showcasing this because we have some clients who are very, very anal about flying over people. And they're like, oh, we got to use parachutes. And I'm like, dude, a parachute.
Just making it worse.
It's going to... The FAA literally says you can't add anything to the aircraft that's going to impact the center of gravity, and parachutes do that. They also cover the compass. I had a talk with one of the CEOs of a parachute company. He's like, we gave information to the ASTM and the FAA. And I'm like, okay, show me the information you gave him. Oh, it's about the oblique error rate of how many satellites we're getting. And I'm like... In the flight log that you sent me, you flew for 5 minutes and you moved 50 feet. You never pitched the aircraft forward aggressively. You never did anything. And I say this because these guys all believe that their parachutes are like the solution, and I just don't believe it. I've seen more flyaways in our classes because of people having parachutes on top of their aircraft. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's been around for a few years, obviously, but I think people are still trying to figure it out and make it better, and probably somebody will at some point.
I'm sure
it's not evil.
No, I think once the manufacturers build them themselves, it's going to be it's going to make a lot more sense. But also, if we couldn't fly over people, the mapping industry would be non-existent. That's why the FAA has clarified on their website it's like transversing people. And I've had very nice, friendly clients who've been like, yeah, but that's not, the regulation, and we're doing legal work and all that. And I'm like, you do you. And I'm like, but
Well, and I think what you just said is the way that you have to look at these insurance companies. You do you.
Yeah.
So you can say the FAA says you can, and I know I'm allowed to do this, and it's inside, so the FAA doesn't even matter. And the insurance company is like, blah, 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 blah.
What's in the policy? Yeah.
Because they ultimately determine what they want their risk to be.
Yep.
And I think the point here is that if you know, and like Keith found out post having insurance with this particular company that he was with, if you know what kind of operations you're going to be flying and you think they might be outside of the sort of normal range of operations of a drone pilot. And Keith was doing some really cool stuff. I mean, we're talking about a Post Malone concert.
Yeah.
Where he was going to be flying up close and doing it all legally, all the appropriate waivers, et cetera, everything that he needs, if he even needed that under the guidelines of what FAA already allowed, he would do it right.
Yeah.
And the insurance company still said no.
And that's what I was trying to get at is like, I know that sub 250 gram drones with prop guards, we can fly over people all day long, and that's under FAA guidance. And that's what I feel like sometimes these insurance companies are, I feel like they're just kind of reaching beyond,
Well, they totally are, but it's their prerogative to do so. I mean, if I were them and I was listening to us, like this show, I'd say, okay, well, open up your pocketbook, damn it.
I mean,
let me see your investments. Do you have enough money to pay these out if it needs to happen? So they're making their business decisions, and I totally understand that. The point is not that. We're not going to solve that. I think in time, and it's already made some progress, in time they're continuing to figure out their risk profiles. And I think you pointed out, Aaron, the issue of some of the bad press that's been happening lately with drones. And I think it absolutely probably impacted whoever your insurance company was or is. And I would imagine if you tell them, never mind, I'm not going to do drone operations under this insurance policy, they'll hopefully let you keep your insurance. If not, that's pretty lame. But I would think that what's been in the news recently about drones probably does affect them, because if you think about some of these companies that don't specialize in aviation insurance, which of course now includes drones, they don't get it. They don't understand it. They don't have people. It's like an investment banking house that normally works on acquisitions of car dealerships, and now you're asking them to do a pot company or a marijuana company. They don't have the expertise. And I think that's probably somewhat what's happening here. So I think what you're going to have to do, Aaron, is look at an organization. And based on what you said, as far as you're not doing a lot of work yet, you're relatively new and it's part-time, probably a Skywatch is going to be good for you. And I'm guessing you're not doing more complicated missions, even like what Keith was doing. So that's probably going to be a better option for you. But it doesn't surprise us. And like Paul said in the intro, we know there are people out there that are advising to just put your insurance for your drone work on your personal property casualty home insurance.
No, don't do that.
It's just, I mean, you can do it. But you're going to run into stuff like this.
I mean, isn't it technically fraudulent because your home insurance is not supposed to cover commercial equipment?
No. I don't think it's fraudulent. I mean, you're not hiding anything. They're going to tell you yes or no based on when you talk to an agent or, whatever, you say, I want to add my drone insurance company, or not my drone insurance, my drone company and my drone work to the policy. They're going to say yes or no. We have a rider for that, or there's a way to do that. But I don't know. It's doable. A lot of people do it. And there's probably people that are going to hear this and say, what's the big deal? I do it. I've done it for 5 years. Great. That's, like Paul said earlier, you do you. I wouldn't do that. I'm going to go to somebody that specializes in the kind of insurance that I need. And I think that's what you're going to need to do, Aaron. So I'd probably look at Skywatch or something like USAIG. And by the way, most of these are underwritten by Global Aerospace.
I was going to say,
anyways.
Even if you go to Costello down in Arizona, he's underwritten by Global.
I think Global Aerospace probably, this is totally a guess, but on drone insurance, I'd guess they're in the 70 to 80% market share.
Yeah.
That's a guess.
And I sat here and I asked Kathy, aka ChatGPT, what it would actually take to create an insurance fund that would be reasonable to help drone pilots. And it would only take 2,000 pilots at $500 a year to create a reasonable sized fund. And then someone like us who does very good job at qualifying pilots, we could actually, we might be onto something here. Can literally create an insurance fund. But then you think about, when have we used our insurance in the last 5 years? And go ahead. I was going to go down the rabbit hole, but you go ahead.
It seems like we've used it when we've lost a drone, either to theft or to a student dumping it in the lake. So is that what you're getting at? We've only used it for hull insurance, never for liability, thank God.
No, and I was thinking about that exact point, is that we've never actually had to use it for liability. And honestly, our drones being stolen have been a much bigger issue than using our hull insurance.
I think that's a really good point, because most of the risk assessment that's being done, this whole conversation about drone insurance companies or aviation insurance companies selling insurance for drones, their primary risk assessment is relative to liability. And I think that's probably, from what we've seen over the last 10, 11 years, how many instances where liability would be an issue have we even seen? Like a handful.
I wonder if transport risk management is still around doing drone insurance.
I don't know. The other one that Skywatch actually started out with, or at least when we became familiar with Skywatch years and years ago, was Star Insurance. They were doing the underwriting back then.
See, I liked working with them because we had a deal with them where if you came to Flight Mastery and you went over how to avoid all the specific emergencies, you showcased that you could complete the obstacle course, you would get a 15% discount. And then when they got bought out by Global, they nixed that. And it's
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's like common corporate misunderstanding of the value of training and qualifying people. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. And I got to be honest. I think there's better solutions, more intelligent solutions to this. Like we need like an Aflac of drone insurance. Supplemental riders.
Supplemental for props. Like you could have supplemental for all these little. Oh, that would be a pain in the butt. No, thank you.
Elon, can I just have 10 million? Because I'll totally change the drone industry.
Can I just? He's gonna reach in his pocket.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
I just think you're gonna want to look towards somebody that does aviation insurance as their business, their specialty. And I do want to reach out to USAIG. I want to see about doing something like what we did with Star back in the day.
That would be
there's
great.
Value to that.
That was a very successful program.
It was. And I think
I'm glad Skip wasn't a part of it, but
Who? Oh, the one that wait.
Lake Loveland.
Poor Skip. Lucky for Skip, we had insurance.
Yeah, lucky for Skip.
Anyways.
We never got a new Mavic 3. We couldn't get one.
No.
Well, we got a Mavic or a Matrice 4.
And now we just decided to do this one here.
Yep.
But yeah, anyways, I hope that answers your question, Aaron. If you have follow-up questions, let us know. Insurance, like we started out saying, it is definitely a sort of an ever-moving target, and these insurance companies, they're constantly evaluating risk. And with drones, the industry is changing so fast. That means the insurance surrounding drones has to as well. But I think just one last kind of put a bow on this. We've really been focused on the liability side as kind of the undertone of this conversation. But don't forget, like if you want to protect your drone and actually have it replaced, that's hull insurance, HULL. So you're going to want to look at getting that at some point as well.
And I also think that your drones being stolen, at least when we were in New Mexico, that was a almost 20-fold increase of costs from our whole insurance, meaning like the actual damages that were paid out. Because, well, we got $3,000 or $3,500 for the Mavic 3 Enterprise, but we lost $50,000 or $60,000. Like video drone equipment down in Albuquerque with all those break-ins. So I mean,
yeah, we did lose a lot down there.
Significant difference of like just the brevity of money or the amount.
Which is an interesting point because this is something else. I'm kind of glad you said that. So to put a second bow on it, my wife's wrapping the presents. You got to have a lot of bows. But anyways, so your homeowner's insurance may cover some of your equipment from theft and so forth, even from your car, those kinds of things. You're just going to want to talk to your agents about what is covered.
Get it in writing too.
Yeah, as in your policy or as in a rider attached to your policy. But like we have general business insurance, and that covers the camera, for example, or this drone. If it gets stolen from this location, that's not going to be our drone insurance company potentially. That might be our business insurance company, right?
Yep.
So there's a couple of different ways to look at that. And if you're storing things in your garage or something along those lines, you're going to want to be aware of that as well. And so it's all, I think too many people, and I'm guilty, we just kind of look for the cheapest insurance. We never really talk to an agent. I guarantee very few people actually read their policies because who the hell can understand that stuff anyways? So I think if you're trying to start a business in particular, make sure you talk to somebody that you feel comfortable is telling you the right things and the things that you need to know accurately. That's going to make a big difference in not ending up in the situation that you're in. But at least you didn't have a claim. I mean, it's proactive, so you can deal with it. But
so transport risk management is still around. Was it Terry who used to own that? I can't remember, but he came on the show a long time ago.
No kidding.
He's been doing this longer than anyone else. So I just don't know if they're still active. I kind of want to reach out to them. And they're here in Colorado. So
yeah,
that could be interesting.
It could be. And so maybe we need to look into them as well.
It's also interesting that they only have one review.
One review. Yeah.
Not a good sign.
Well, it depends on who their customer base is. If it's, large organizations, corporate customers, things like that, people like that aren't going to, like the secretary from some big organization isn't going to go do a Google review for their insurance company.
Yeah, true.
So it depends on kind of their customer mix and what that paradigm looks like. But by the way, if you are looking and you want to do Skywatch and that seems like a good fit for you, we'll have a link in the show notes. You can actually get that with us, and that'd be awesome too.
One thing I will say, the reason that we're still with Skywatch is that it is very easy to change aircraft, which we do on a frequent basis, kind of depending on the jobs that we do, because we still do service work. So
it's also easy to add additional insureds.
Which was huge because, like, for example, down with the Colorado School of Mines, they wanted to be additionally insured. And honestly, like,
they all do.
Yeah, they all do. What we were applying for something yesterday, and they wanted to be additional insured. The DNR stuff. So,
really?
Yeah, they wanted that. And a lot of these things that like people trying to control airspace, I think it's just because they're afraid of accidents happening and want to have some methodology of implementing consequences or getting paid out or something.
Well, I also think it's kind of a weeding out process. How many people are going to be willing to jump through the hoops that they're going to require to actually be able to fly? So it's kind of thinning out the airspace.
I know. I don't like it because first of all, they don't have the legal right to do it. And I've had to explain that to like multiple law enforcement officers out in the middle of the boonies. And luckily I've never been given a ticket because I'm like, well, you literally and legally do not have the authority to do this. And I explain it like you were in the boat with me when I'm like, have you ever read the Commerce Clause? Okay, well, do you know who controls the airspace?
And
Like,
what did he say?
He's like, I don't care.
Put your drone away and get out of here.
Yeah,
He
he didn't
didn't give a damn.
care. But it's just funny because but I say this because a lot of us who are responsible pilots, we have a right to fly. And it's becoming more and more apropos to be clandestine than it is to work within these systems, because like the Supreme Court ruling that just came down that said no more photo permits on any federally controlled land whatsoever.
Oh, you are opening a can of worms with that. I think that is so much deeper than putting it that simply.
I agree, but that's why the comment section
Don't
is
go
for.
fly based on what Paul just said and say, Paul at Drone U said.
Not legal advice.
Please don't do that. It's so much deeper than that, though.
No, it is. And what I was trying to get to, too, is that I think a lot of these organizations are legislating or regulating based off of the lowest common denominator. That's what I was trying to get at.
And they're creating barriers, and let's be real, it's effective, right? Because how many people are going to say, no, I know I can fly, and here's why? Because then you still have the other person that says, okay, that's nice. I'm still telling you not to fly. And so then you fly anyways, and they say, okay, come with me. And then you say no, and then they get the police. I mean, let's go down to like the actual end of the road of this little simplistic perspective on flying wherever the hell I want because it's legal. Let's be real.
Well,
you better be willing. I know. I'm being facetious.
Yeah. The wildlife refuges are still protected.
There are.
Yeah.
And but you better be prepared for the consequences of your, I think I can fly here.
Yes.
It could be a pain in the butt. You probably should have just not flown there.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So
also
be
don't
very
fly
real
around
about
airports.
this.
Don't fly around stadiums with
Right.
people in them. Like, be smart. Like,
100%.
anyway.
100%.
There's so many caveats, but I believe in the right to fly. There was a comment.
I believe I can fly.
Oh gosh. On that note, we're just going to end it there. So I think I just want to give a quick shout out to my Uncle Bob, who would probably love the I believe I can fly comment and talk to you up significantly at the funeral.
Bob, I hope to meet you someday. It would be a pleasure.
Anyway, on that bombshell, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks again for joining us. If you have a question, askdroneu.com. Don't forget, we are updating all of our content for mapping because we want to give you the best. We want to see you succeed. We've had the deepest mapping content since 2018. We are the only certified photogrammetric instructors that's a drone school, and we look forward to giving you the newest content. So look out for it. Check it out, thedroneu.com.